What's up, guys? I haven't ridden my Grom in a while, and I don't think it's fitting to name my channel John on a Grom if I'm not riding my Grom. And while we are riding the Grom, I'm going to be talking about things that I dislike about it. I know everybody's going to be like, damn, John's so negative, he hates everything. I thought it would be a good idea to get some of the things that I dislike about the Grom but have fixed. So it's not entirely negative, it's just things to keep in mind if you are interested in a Grom, specifically the SF second generation Grom. Oh, out of gears. So all these things can be altered to your liking. The aftermarket support for a Grom is like immense, dude. So you'll be able to find a fix for most things. And that being said, I'm not going to get into things like power or anything like that because it's an unfair... I mean, it's unfair, dude. I don't know what you would expect from a 125, technically a 124.9. But come on, be realistic. Anyway, the first problem I have with the Grom, the factory seat. Out of gears again. You have to either really get your nuts on the tank or sit in the pylon seat because there's just not enough room. So what I would do is, if I knew I wasn't going to hit a light, like if I had a long straight, I'd sit in the back just so I had a little more room to stretch out. If I knew I was like in bumper to bumper stuff, I would sit as close to the tank as possible. There was no in between. So what I did was buy a aftermarket seat. This one's by Noi, I want to say. N-O-I is the spelling. And it's a flat seat. It's got like bride print on it. I'll throw a picture up of it. Flattens out the seat so you can kind of move around forward and back. I don't think the padding is any better, but it is more comfortable because you can adjust exactly where you want to sit. I'm out of gears again. Second thing that would drive me absolutely crazy about the Grom, the stock mirrors. They were absolutely useless unless you had the body shape of like a yardstick. Your body was in the way. I even bought some aftermarket ones that pointed out a little further, that reached out about as far as the handlebars, but they still were not enough for me. I'm a 200-pound rider and I have broad shoulders, so that doesn't help my case. But yeah, most people I talk to go modify their bar ends and add bar end mirrors. It's not a bad thing. It kind of fixes the profile of the Grom and makes it look less dorky. You gotta get rid of those lollipop mirrors, man. The third thing that drives me crazy is it's not so much a problem anymore, but false neutrals. So the bike would tell you you're in first, or there's no gear indicator, so it would tell you you weren't in neutral anymore, and then you go and try to get out of first and you aren't in first, you're still in neutral. I don't know if that's fixed on the newest Grom, and there are fixes for that. I didn't need to do any myself. I think I just needed to get some break-in mileage in. If you do still continue to get that issue, you can always look to I think Hard Racing makes a shift kit that gives the shifter less play, so that helps out quite a bit. I bought it, but I ended up never installing it because I didn't need it. By the time I got it and put a couple hundred miles through it and put a couple hundred miles through the motor, it was fine. It fixed itself. But I have been reading on the forums and stuff that people are still having that issue. You can always change out the shifter too. A lot of people use the IMS shifter, I think, and that fixes the problem. It just makes it a more direct shift instead of like having to go through all this linkage and stuff. Because if you look at the shift linkage, there's just a whole bunch of plastic, dude. The fourth thing that drives me crazy about the Grom, again, this one can be fixed, are oil changes. Oil changes are such a pain in the ass. You have to take the crankcase cover on the right side, completely off, just so you can get to the clean out the oil spinner and the oil screen. It's time consuming. I mean, I'm sure with enough practice I can get it down pretty quickly, but it's just a pain in the ass, dude. Like I was saying, there are fixes to that. You can get an aftermarket case cover, and it ditches the oil spinner, and it just allows you to do oil changes like a typical bike, you know, with an oil filter and stuff, instead of that using that screen. So it's kind of nice, and I think it actually you lose some rotating mass, so you actually gain a little bit of power back. I believe Kitaco? I was looking into it, but then I'm like, I don't know. I didn't want to spend, I mean, this is just me being cheap, but I didn't want to spend 300 bucks on like a crankcase cover. And I think at the time I was trying to save up for my Ninja, so I didn't want to buy it. But those are all the gripes I have. I do feel for a heavier rider, like 190 pounds, 200 pounds and heavier, the suspension is super soft, and you can bottom out pretty quickly. I'm over 200 pounds, so I've never bottomed out, but I don't ride it like I'm going off-road. Disregard my last post. That was unintentional cement off-roading. I blame Siri. Little gripes that aren't exactly like, I don't hate, but I don't love. Foot pegs, they're plastic. Or at least they feel plastic. They feel like cheap metal. On the Z125 you get real foot pegs. So that's just something to keep in mind. Like I said, all this stuff is stuff you can change out. You know, you don't need to be a veteran mechanic or anything to do any of this stuff. The seat literally took like 10 seconds to put on. But that's pretty much it. I don't really have any other issues with the Grom. I love this thing. I have almost 800 miles on it. I really only do ride it, especially lately, the only time I really do ride it is when I'm riding with friends, or when I go to the Thursday night ride, my local Thursday night ride. It's a bunch of mini motos, mini bikes, a lot of ruckuses, a couple Groms, but yeah, all Honda minis. It's fun times. I do record them sometimes, but I don't typically post it just because I kind of zone out and I'm enjoying the ride and I forget that I'm vlogging. So a lot of that footage for vlogging purposes is wasted, but it's always a fun time hanging out with those dudes. That's all the gripes I really have with the Grom. Can't really blame it for not having much power. It's a 125cc. Like, what do you expect, you know? It's a good bike, man. It's lots of fun, and it's more fun when you ride with other folks. That's why you see Grom riding groups. They're so big, because it's so much fun to ride with other people. Anyways, guys, that's the video. Thanks for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. If you liked the video, go ahead and hit the like button, and I would super appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button too. Until next time, guys, see you later, ride safe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.